Two of the most important sections on your LinkedIn when it comes to building your network and attracting recruiters are your education and experience sections. In this video, I'll teach you how to fully optimize both of these sections. Without any fluff, let's jump right in. First, I'm going to tell you why both of these sections are so important. Second, I'm going to give you tips to make the most out of each of these sections. And then third, I'm going to show you what mine look like as an example. So why are these sections so important? First of all, whenever you add an employer or a former school you went to, that makes you way more visible on LinkedIn to anybody that worked for that employer, went to that school, or is searching for people that went to either of those. Lots of people like to add people that they either went to the same school as or worked at the same company as, so just by filling out your employers and where you went to school, it will really help you expand your network. Second, these sections are crucial to highlight any relevant experience or any keywords that a recruiter might search for. So it's not only important that you fill out these sections, but that you fill them out right. So with that being said, let's jump right into the education section. So this is a list of all that you can and maybe should include in your education section. First of all, any colleges you attended. So if you went to college, you definitely want to have that college here along with some of the information below. Second is your degree type. So whether you got a BS, a BA, an MBA, an MS, a PhD, whatever degree type, you definitely want to have that listed. Third is field of study. This should also be pretty obvious. If you studied economics, you'll want to put economics here. If you studied psychology, put psychology here, whatever you studied. Fourth is your high school, but I only recommend that you add this if it's your highest level of education. Next is your GPA, but I only recommend that you add it if it is a 3.5 or higher. No worries if you were lower than a 3.5, but I would only highlight it here if it was an exceptional GPA. Next is relevant coursework. This one is optional. I've never had this on my LinkedIn, but it's not a bad way to go. So for me, I work in data analytics, so if I wanted to highlight relevant coursework, that might be any data related or statistics courses that I took in college, so you're feel free to keep that in mind if you want to. Next is also optional, relevant projects. This is something that I definitely do because for both my bachelor's degree and my master's degree, I did a project that was data related, so I wanted to show that I have that experience, and as you'll see when I show you my education section, you can see exactly how I added that. Third to last is dates attended. I personally don't have this on mine. I personally really believe ageism exists and people will discriminate based on how old I am. However, I want them to just discriminate based on how good I am at my job, and I don't want to lose an opportunity because I might be younger or for you might be older than somebody else going for that same job. So just think about that if you want to include the dates attended. Next is activity. So if you're involved in any clubs or maybe Greek life in college, you could definitely highlight that here. And then last is honors or awards. This can be from one of your clubs. This could be if you made the dean's list or president's list, but if you were honored in any way, you definitely want to show that here because that can help you stand out. Next, moving on to the experience section. First of all, you'll want to have any of your former employers. And then again, this should be obvious, but you want to have your job title. So whether you were a data analyst or a graphic designer or economist, whatever, you want to have that here. Next is dates employed. And I don't believe the same way I do about the education section. For your experience section, you definitely want to include the dates. Next is your location type. This one is honestly somewhat optional if LinkedIn makes it optional, but just whether you worked in person, remote, because some people want to hire, or some employers want to hire people that have experience working in person or working remote, so that could be a good thing to add here. Next is the description of your work and projects. From what I've seen recommended, usually you wouldn't just go with bullet points like you would on your resume, but you want to give a really good understanding of what you did at that job. So again, once we get to the examples, you'll see that. Next is focus on impact if you can. So instead of just saying, I used this tool, I manage these processes, focus on what impact you made. So it could be like, I did this thing, which improved this other thing by 5%. That is what you're going for here. And this could be really challenging. I know it's always overwhelmed me, but just do the best that you can with this. And if you can't really focus on impact, you can always try to focus on scope of whatever projects that you did. Next is top skills used. I'll also include tools used. So this is a really good chance to highlight whatever you think a recruiter might be looking for. For me as a data analyst, I'm definitely going to highlight tools like SQL, Tableau, Power BI, Microsoft Excel, and also some non-technical skills like communication skills, strategy, things like that. You definitely want to do your best to highlight whatever skills and tools whoever's looking at your profile might be looking for. All right, so now let's look at examples of the education and experience sections right here on my LinkedIn. So first of all, here's what my education sections look like. I have the school that I went to, I have my degree, I have my field of study, and then I also included my GPAs just because I had good GPAs while I was in college. And as you can see for my bachelor's, I made the president's list, which is higher than the dean's list, so I also made the dean's list, but I have that listed here again just to help me stand out. And you can go a lot of different ways here, but again, I work in data analytics, so I really wanted to highlight this experience that I had doing this thesis in college. So I gave a quick rundown of whatever I found with that, and then I also included the tools because again, that's really important in data analytics. And coming down here to my bachelor's degree, I did a very similar thing here because I did a senior thesis, so I added my thesis title, my findings, and then once again, my main tools that I used. Now coming up here to experience, I need to spiffy up this one because I just started doing some freelance analytics a few months ago while I'm building a couple of projects. But anyway, looking at my last role, I have my company here. I have the dates that I worked here, which auto-calculated to 3 years and 2 months. I have that this was a full-time role and it was remote. And then as you can see, it then breaks it down by my different job titles because while I was at Humana, I started out as a data and reporting professional and then I got promoted to a senior data analyst. And then right here, I give a description of what I did there. So for me, I first gave a very quick rundown of kind of the team that I worked on. I said in this role, I worked on a combined sales, operations, product team. So I got to analyze data and drive strategies for all 3 areas. Below are a couple of my most impactful projects. And then here I list very briefly a write-up of my projects, or at least a couple of my bigger ones. I make sure to mention the tool that I used, or at least the primary tool. And then I also, again, as I said, I focused on the impact I made. And then I did that again right here. And then finally, data analyst recruiters really want you to know specific tools. So I highlighted my tech stack for this role so that they could see I have experience using all of those tools and applying them in the workplace. So anyway, I hope this video helped you fill out your education and experience sections to the best of your ability. In case you didn't know, this video is part of a free LinkedIn optimization course I host right here on my YouTube channel, so be sure to go check out all of the other videos if you haven't already. And then whether you want to learn about data or LinkedIn, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel. I post a brand new video every single week helping you become the best data analyst or LinkedIn user that you can be. And with that, I'll see you next week.